So a few things I want to point out here. We got our wall built, cores filled, obviously all the way to the top, 100%. Another thing you'll notice here, we have that stone angle. So this is a clean number 57 stone, which is spec for building your retaining walls. You'll see the slope. And again, you got architects, you got engineers telling you a lot of different things regarding fabric behind your wall. So what we've done is we've kind of taken a conglomerate of what they've said and what they've recommended. So we will do a 2 or 3 foot stone, clean stone behind our retaining walls. Again, a nice clean cut up underneath or in back of the wall. And then what I've chosen to do is usually I'll take a 3 foot or a 4 foot fabric and I'll lay it on this slope. That'll get me out 3 or 4 feet. It's going to be very rare that I'll get any migration of soils down into my drainage field when I'm doing something like this. So again, this will slope all the way down. I'll take a non-pervious soil, so a clay soil, one that's not going to allow the water to drain down through it, and I'll backfill this. Our wall has a step down here. So what that is going to allow me to do is create a little bit of a swale here, and I'll get that water running out. So I don't have water trapped behind my wall. Water and walls do not mix. We have to remember that constantly. Water and water, water and walls, water and walls, water and walls. Remember that. They do not mix. We want to keep the water away from our walls. So again, the fabric behind here, you'll notice too, I've lapped the fabric up onto my wall here. So what that's going to allow me to do is that when I'm gluing it, I can glue the fabric right to my wall, or put my caps on, and when I dump my soils, it's not going to pull this fabric down on that slope. Another thing you'll notice here, I'm using dots. If I do long strips, that has a tendency to trap water in between here. If I use dots, it'll leave just a little bit of an air gap underneath my cap, allow water to travel freely if I do get moisture. And you'll notice get a little bit of air in there. That's what helps to cure the glue. So you get a little bit of air mixed in with the glue once you stick it, and that's going to get a lot stronger bond. So generally when I'm laying a cap like this, I want to keep this about 1 inch off. So I go back through here, exactly 1 inch or 1.1 inches. When I've done that, I want to obviously keep a nice straight line on my caps. It's a straight wall. Serpentine walls, this doesn't pertain. So what I'll do, I take my string, I make a nice knot in it. A lot of times I'll make a loop in it. But if I make a large enough knot, I'll be able to tuck it between my cap and my wall. I don't know if you can see that. Then I'll run it along the back, and I'm going to run it down my other end. That'll give me a straight line to run my cap to, so I don't end up with any curves. Another unique thing that I do is I usually will take like a carriage bolt. So this has a nice big head on it. And what I'll do is I'll hold this. It's impossible with a textured block, and this is textured both sides. So it's impossible to keep that straight. So I take this textured. The head of that is going to keep me off so it doesn't drop down through, and then that'll hold it about 3/8 of an inch off the back of my wall, so any of them little bumps, imperfections, is not going to affect it. So now I'm going to take another cap, I'm going to set it on my wall. Again, I'm not going to glue this or anything. All I'm doing is trying to get this point here to keep my wall nice and straight, or my caps nice and straight. I'm going to take my tape measure, measure this again, 1 inch. So I got my 1 inch here. I'm going to pull my dry line along here. I'm going to wrap it around. And a neat little trick on this here, if I take this string and I wrap it over the top, that automatically is going to lock me in there. I don't have to tie a knot, I don't have to do anything. To undo it, I just pull it. So again, I pull this tight around here, wrap it around my block, I pull this tight, and all I want to do is go over the top of that. That's going to eliminate a lot of frustration. I'm going to take my bolt here again. All I'm going to do, I slide it tight to this point. And if you can see there, that's going to keep me a nice consistent 3/16 off the back of my wall. Now when I lay my cap, I don't have to worry about any of the snap part of the block interfering with my line. Because if you do touch the line, it's going to bump it out. It'll bump it out. Next thing you know, when you look back, you're going to have an arc in your wall when you cap it. So this here allows you to keep a nice consistent margin of that 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch, pretty close to that, off that bump, run a nice straight wall. So a couple things here I want to point out yet. I got my glue already. A couple dots of glue on the side. It's going to help to hold our caps and the wall all together. This here is at least a 2-inch joint you want here, or separation. I don't want my cap or my wall block to line up a seam here. That's going to create a weakness. If there's any movement in this wall at all, that's going to be a weakness right through there, and you're going to see some separation. So the more we can bridge this, just like on our wall, we have half bond here. We want to split the bond on our cap also. Bring it up. Again, this nice cap system where you got tapers. And you can see here, that's what that's doing for us. Having that there, that allows me to hang it off about that 3/16 of an inch. 2 small dots there again. Again, be careful where you're setting your glue gun. We don't want this dripping down the front. Hot days, glue tends to run really fast. Bring it on. Getting that air in there. This one too, I didn't get any air in this one. Good thing to remember. So you'll see what I mean about some of these bumps on the cap. That's what I'm talking about. By keeping that bolt on the end, that allows that little bit of a gap. So again, we can do a small one here. 2 dots. And I can do the glue either on top or on the bottom. Sometimes I'll flip it up. It really doesn't matter, because of the glue, the way the fabric is, it'll just push right through it. Okay, bring another. And when I'm all said and done, I'll just run down through again quickly, and I'll make sure that that looks really nice and straight. So you can see here, got my dry line laid out there, and you'll see some of the bumps along the back of this cap, and that's why I use that bolt on the end of each side, a little carriage bolt. Like I said, the head keeps the string from dropping down, and that keeps a nice consistent opening or a gap right there. And again, you can see some of your larger bumps, and I can compensate for that. Again, just that 1/4 or 3/8 of an inch off, and you look down the wall and it's super, super straight.